great talent make great solutions. And when difficult times come, this talent knows how to readapt. They know how to find again product market fit. This, I would say, product market fit, an expression that is becoming more and more famous because it kind of reflects on what is needed for a startup to succeed. Product market fit means if a startup is getting into a new market that wasn't created before, how is their product finding the right niche in that market? So up until you find it, your efforts should be in creating a great product, in talking to clients, in getting to, testing hypotheses and so forth. So you get your ideas and your justifications ready.
Welcome to another amazing episode of the Tech Business Roundtable podcast, brought to you by Equa.tech, the leader in digital marketing for tech companies. We want to first take a moment to thank you for sharing this podcast with your friends and on social media and helping us grow week after week. Meet our host of today's TBR episode, Ryan Davies. Ryan is the Director of Marketing of Equa.tech and is a dynamic leader in driving business transformation through technology. Over to you, Ryan.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tech Business Roundtable podcast show. This is a podcast show dedicated to shining a spotlight on tech innovators, entrepreneurs, founders, and the compelling narratives behind the movements that they've established. I'm your host, Ryan Davies, and I'm hosting today's discussion, Beyond Investments, Crafting Strategies for Corporate Success in the Tech Era, with Daniel Gonzalvez. How did I get it? Was it close again?
You got it.
Yes. Fantastic. Daniel, I appreciate your kindness. I appreciate you being here most of all. For our audience, a little bit of a background. So Daniel works currently as a senior venture manager at GCO Ventures, a VC and venture building vehicle founded with over 300 million euros of committed funds. Incredibly impressive background with a Bachelor in Business Management, Economics, as well as applied philosophy, huge business school background as well. Has been previously an investment and portfolio manager where you managed, over almost 60 deep tech companies and participated not just in that, but the creation of startups and management of investments, to kind of bring it all together. Incredible experience in early stage deep tech, general tech, financial services, health, real estate, utilities, energy, travel. You're the one-stop shop for us. This is fantastic. And we're so happy to have you here sharing your time and your wisdom with us today. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me, for inviting me. This is a great opportunity to contribute to this global knowledge library and to be able to, collaborate with you and bring this information about the deep tech, the VC ecosystem, and also to do it from Spain, Barcelona specifically, and to get to explain how are things here and how I actually got here. So I think it will be a great time.
I think that's great. I mean, we could even start with that, right? A little bit about your journey. And I know you wear multiple hats as a venture capital deep tech investor. You're a strategy consultant. So maybe provide our audience with a bit of an overview of, all of the hats that you wear, and how you navigate between the creation of startups and managing investments and your place in the Spanish ecosystem, I guess.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that. So basically, I started, as a typical business student here in Spain, and we could say early on my college journey, I discovered what entrepreneurship was, and I thought, okay, this may be for me. This thing about creating, something that wasn't here before. So going from 0 to 1. And also to be able to get this 1 to 100 in a very short span of time. That was a very interesting thing. Also, to use technology to do it actually as the only way to do it, because other than technology, right now we don't have other ways to increase value in today's businesses, or at least I haven't known any other alternative. So yeah, basically, while in college, I was able to experience the creation of a startup. I created a iDemocracy. This was a social network startup on we could say politics and debate across cities, and it was good, but it was not, we could say, for profit endeavor. So I moved on, and I finished my we could say studies in my bachelor's on both Spain and the Netherlands. And there, I decided to join, we could say, a VC fund, to get to know the financial perspective of investors to that subject that I was just speaking about, and that was entrepreneurship and technology. So I joined first a fund here in Barcelona. This fund was one of the first deep tech funds in Spain. Basically, deep tech, for the audience who may not be familiar with the term, is companies that come from universities with, we could say, a scientific or a technological significant advance. In that sense, they usually come from universities, but they may not. In that sense, they should have a patent, they should have an IP that advances. So that was deep tech, and deep tech VC, deep tech investing, was to invest and to make succeed these companies across a portfolio. So after this first experience, I joined another VC fund. This was in London, Egen Capital. Egen Capital was another VC fund, this time focused on renewable energy, green energy. And it was very interesting also to get to know another ecosystem of businesses and of entrepreneurship. And yeah, basically in that sense, I also finished my, at that time, I also finished my, we could say, student career, academic career, by getting into a master's degree. This master's degree was not the typical choice. So the typical choice would have been a financial management master's, or a accounting master's, or an international management master's. But I decided to do a different thing, and that was applied philosophy and logic. That choice came from, first of all, my we could say ambivalence, but also likeness of philosophy in my personal time, and on my free time, in the sense of reading through books and getting to understand how philosophers thought back in the day. But as a matter of fact, once I discovered that the same questions that these philosophers were thinking about at that time were the same that we are right now at this time and currently thinking of, I thought, okay, let's see how this takes us, not only in the personal level, but also in the professional level. So I decided to go for that master's, and to complement my more economical and quantitative background with a more qualitative one. And yeah, basically that was about studies, and then as I was in the VC fund in London, I saw how I love the job, I love the industry, I love to get to know founders and help them once we had invested in their company. But I saw and I realized that my skills as a person who had been only in venture capital were not the best ones, in the sense of the VC, venture capital, is an industry where most of the people that are in are coming from other industries. So there is this cross-pollination of skills. And in that sense, people come from investment banking, people come from the startup world as operators, people come from consulting or audit. And in that sense, I thought, okay, let's try something different. Let's try to acquire other skills that would allow me in the future to add more value into the founders, to be more versed into the VC industry. So I decided to go to another industry, in that sense, to transition careers into strategy consulting. In that sense, I went into a mid-sized firm called Kiteris. Kiteris was and is a company operating from Spain, but also from Portugal, and operating across Europe and Latin America, Hispanic America. And in that sense, I was there up until, I think it was 3.5 years, up until I made manager. And manager in consulting is kind of an inflection point in that moment of your career. You have to decide if you're going to be a consultant, a strategy consultant, all your life, or you should move on and get into a client or transition careers in that sense. So as I saw, and the projects at Kiteris were very good. We were doing advisory, and we were doing M&A, intercontinental projects. We were doing strategy plans for European companies that wanted to use technology for their advancement and for their consolidation in their market share. But in that sense, even though the exposition to C-suite and so forth was great, I decided to go back to VC. So yeah, it was great, but yeah, I had to find a gig, and in that sense, something helped me, because in that moment that I wanted to get back to VC, another idea came in the sense of a project to be chased, and that was the creation of a startup. So along an engineer friend, we created Energy Hash. Energy Hash was a company that from which we built a small solar plant back in Tarragona. Tarragona is one of the provinces here in Spain, near Barcelona, and from the energy and the power that we generated from this solar plant, we pooled and we mined cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it was great. It was we could say profitable, because also we were able to raise from a few family, friends, and fools. We could say individuals, and also contexts that we had from back in the day in the VC world, and yeah, it was great. But COVID came, and in that sense, we were not able to meet the expectations that we had set for, such as we were not able to get into the plant as frequently as we wanted, due to lockdown and so forth. Also, the monitoring costs went up, and we could say the final move against us was that the law changed, and we were not able to adapt as quickly as possible. So we we said, okay, we reflected, we said, okay, this has been a great journey. We have built something, it worked, but right now isn't working anymore. So let's see how we finish and close this as clean as possible. And we decided to sell the assets that we had acquired and to liquidate everything. So, and we returned all the money across a we could say another sum investors that had trusted in us, and also we retook some of the gain, because it was in that sense, for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it was very profitable at the moment. But for at least for miners, because it has been spiking and going to the floor in the last months, but now it's kind of spiking again. So yeah, it has been it was a great journey, and it was in that sense an inflecting point.
I think, you covered a lot on your journey here, which is phenomenal. And I think like you just said, there's so many external factors that come in, things you just can't predict. No one's seen a pandemic like that coming necessarily. I mean, like maybe some people had something on their radar that eventually it was going to happen, but certainly you can't necessarily prepare among all the other things you're doing as a startup investor and everything for things along those lines. Maybe, over your journey here, tell us a little bit about the evolution of the tech landscape from your perspective, maybe how you've seen it change. And for our listeners, what kind of trends are maybe currently shaping the industry from both, the startup and the investment side?
So no, basically, what we are seeing right now is, even though the market has been freezing a bit, for investors, we are seeing fewer startups or fewer good startups coming in with a good proposal and so forth. And for startups, what I have seen is that they were used to ask a lot of money with, you could say, 3 slides, and many investors, even funds in which I was, even if they had, not product market fit, but if they had, an AI title or so forth, back in the day, it was easier for us to fund them. But right now, capital has been freezing, and valuations have gone to the floor. Maybe with the exception of, pre-seed. Pre-seed has been keeping itself kind of afloat. It has been, being on top of conversations, and many investors are, looking at it. At least here in Spain and Europe, many investors are beginning, even if they were, early / growth stage investors back in the day, now are thinking on getting into pre-seed. So yes, I would say in terms of capital and funding, this is how we are seeing this evolve. And in the sense of creation of startups, I'm seeing more and more how this called startup mafias, in which here in Spain we have the Cabify mafia, the 20 mafia, now and then the Wallapop mafia, recently acquired by Delivery Hero, in the sense of these first employees of these startups are right now creating other startups or creating new VC funds that fund other startups. So this is very good for the ecosystem, and I would say that in the next years we'll be seeing how this flywheel is getting more and more traction, and yes, I think this is where we headed.
I think you touched on something really important there, and I think maybe it's really you have a really unique perspective on it as a founder, advisor, investor, consultant. You've kind of been on all sides of it, but it comes down to, in each of those roles, strategic consulting and collaboration and being able to build that ecosystem. I know you mentioned, Spain's got some unique things that are happening there. So I'd love to kind of hear about that ecosystem specifically. Maybe we could start there, but also just, in this rapidly evolving tech landscape, how you navigate those challenges of being able to build that ecosystem and really foster innovation through it.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, because everyone needs to do their part, right? So there is no one and no entity being able to, bring everybody to the table. At least from now, government is trying. They are doing, or at least national governments are trying. They are doing plans. They are doing incentives and so forth. But I think that the way to navigate those challenges would be to coordinate across agents in that sense, and focusing, for example, in the deep tech industry. You need to coordinate the research centers and universities with the startups and also the talent plus the investors. And I would say that how we navigate this, I would say the only word is together and to be coordinated. So yes, I think we're doing a pretty good job in the sense of AI. AI, for example, is being regulated here in Europe, and it has been evolved through consensus, because we have companies that may know, or incumbent companies that want AI regulated, but you also have startups that do not want AI too regulated. So in that sense, consensus and doing things together would be the key.
I like that kind of thought process, right? Is making sure, again, no one's the one-stop shop to bring it all together. I think you're probably as close as it comes in terms of being able to kind of see it from all sides of the table. But just like any sports team, any football team, everybody has to do their part. It's it's yes. The keeper's not also the striker who's also playing midfield, doing everything. You've got to, everybody does their part, and that's what kind of builds to that success. And maybe, again, I think you've got a very unique perspective in your journey about being able to evaluate potential success in a startup, right? Because again, you've been a founder, you've invested in them, so you've been on both sides, and then you've advised and consulted on how to do this as well. So do you have any kind of points that you would say, hey, this is how you could evaluate the potential success of a startup, or for tech leaders to reflect on themselves and say, am I going to be successful? This is kind of what the questions I need to answer here.
Right. So no, that's a good question. So yeah, allow me to explain you an anecdote that may relate to how I answer this question. So last month I was speaking with another fellow investor, and we were saying, or asking ourselves, how should we assess all the AI startups that come to us with the newest model, the newest application, the newest layer, in the sense of new things that we may not be able to get to know already, because we are in many industries, we are in many verticals, and the question was, how can we tell a founder, okay, I'm going to invest in you, if we don't actually know the technology, at least at its finest, because we know AI, but we may not know the latest advancement. And the question came to us easily, and that was, or the answer came to us easily, and that was to assess things as if technology was also a mean, and we could say, in that sense, that we moved away from technology and we focused on the problem that they were solving, on how happy they were making their client, on how good they compared to their competitors. So in that sense, what I would say to any founder on raising capital for their startup, on developing a good product for a new market, or or even people wanting to join a startup and not knowing which one to go for, I would say to focus on how big is the market and the problem that they are tackling, and understanding how this startup, this specific talent, populating a startup, is able to create something incredible to solve that problem. In that sense, I would say that what we have been seeing from my experiences and now at GCO Ventures is that great talent make great solutions, and when the difficult times come, this talent knows how to readapt. They know how to find again product market fit. This, I would say, product market fit is an expression that is becoming more and more famous, because it kind of reflects on what is needed for a startup to succeed. Product market fit means if a startup is getting into a new market that wasn't created before, how is their product finding the right niche in that market? So up until you find it, your efforts should be in creating a great product, in talking to clients, in getting to testing hypotheses and so forth, so you get your ideas and your justifications ready.
And I think that is just an incredibly critical point for listeners to kind of hear and understand. And, you can't embrace that one enough in terms of being able to do that. And I know, again, the tech industry, especially deep tech side of things, rapid changes, as we talked about, right? So GCO Ventures and yourself, how are you able to stay adaptable and responsive to these industry shifts, to identify these product market fits and really understand, what clients are looking for? Do you have some advice you'd give to tech leaders that are constantly going through this change of how to, stay resilient and really make sure that they do have the understanding that they need?
I would say getting moving. In that sense, being at events, being at conferences, talking to people in those events, talking to people by LinkedIn. If you see some article that you wanted to meet the author and discuss about, write to them, get engaged. Also, there is also the other side. So that is create a narrative, create a we could say persona in the internet that also, I don't know, if you know a lot about financial management in hardware companies, write about it, be open to people getting to you, and you may be able to learn a lot from that same people that are asking you something. So in that sense, be connected to the ecosystem is the best way. And we have been seeing how this old silo companies are not working anymore. We are working right now on the interconnected wall we are speaking, me from Barcelona, you from the States. This is the new world. The best way to be connected to these new things coming in and these new tech and innovations in the world is to be global and be able to contribute to this machine.
I think that's incredible advice that we could kind of almost close off on here, because we've been going. I just looked at the time, like, wow, this has been incredible, and I'm just there's so many questions I still have to ask. So first of all, I think we're just going to say, Daniel, you need to have your own podcast probably, so we can get more of this messaging out, because there's so many topics. If not, you got to come back and give us some more of this great information. I think we could drill down like 10 different layers here on so much we've talked about on collaboration, investment approach, consulting strategy. I mean, there's just so much here to cover. And I'm so happy we were able to even just scratch the surface to get some of these information, some of these great points. But I know we're going to have listeners that are going to want more. So in addition to the ask to come back, I want to make sure that they can get in touch with you and contact with you. For our audience sake, what's the best way to do that?
So I would say LinkedIn. I would say I always read my invitations. So I would suggest that for you to write a small line on which who are your, maybe what do you want from me, or if you just want to connect to bring me some piece of who you are in these few lines. I know that is a difficult thing to do. I try to improve it by the day, but yes, by LinkedIn I always read my invitations. And also answering to you, Ryan, I would be more than happy to come back whenever you want.
I love it. That's great. There it is. We've got it now recorded. So I'm gonna be taking you up on that, Daniel. So thank you so much. On behalf of all of our listeners and here at TBR, I want to thank you, Daniel Gonzalvez, for this amazing podcast, Beyond Investments, Crafting Strategies for Corporate Success in the Tech Era. I think, again, like I said, we're going to have you back again. So thank you very much for your time today and for all of the wisdom you shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
Excellent. And I also want to thank our listeners. We can't do what we do without you. So until we meet again with another amazing TBR episode, I'm your host, Ryan Davies. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Ryan, for this amazing episode. Thank you for joining us on the Tech Business Roundtable podcast. We hope our discussions have sparked new ideas, expanded your knowledge, and empowered you on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and write us a positive review. Thank you for listening to the Tech Business Roundtable podcast show.